This is Analytical Perspective, a podcast on entertainment. This week's discussion will be on episode 7 of Run the World. Let's talk about it. Episode 7. There's a lot to unpack with this episode because we're coming on to the finale of this season, and there was a lot to think about this episode. There was Ella and Anderson, and Renee with her job, and Sunday and Matthew, and Whitney and Ola. So the episode starts with Sandy, Matthew, and Amari, and they're at this ballet performance. Amari just wants to enjoy this performance, and the whole time while they're watching this performance, Matthew and Sandy are in this deep conversation about who will be her next chairman or advisor, because Matthew can't be it anymore because they are in a relationship and the university doesn't want to seem like there's nepotism or favoritism going on. So Amari, during the whole time they're having this conversation, she's enjoying the whole ballet thing. And to sidetrack for a quick second, she sees that these ballerinas are wearing ballet shoes that match their complexion. And she asks Sandy, like, hey, are those ballet shoes still available? And Sandy is very happy that, she wants to have these ballet shoes. Because if you don't remember, episode 1, Sandy takes Amari to her ballet lesson, and Matthew has given her a check, and she has to pay for Amari's next semester at the ballet. And Amari is enjoying it. She is in a class with a lot of either light-skinned black girls or white girls. And Sandy is trying too hard, basically, in that first episode. She's trying too hard to mesh with the other girls' mothers. And then when she goes to meet the director, and the director is like, we have scholarships, and, here's a pamphlet for Amari to eat better so she doesn't gain weight, because when you're a ballerina, there's certain places where they don't want you to gain weight. And Sandy is disagreed about that. So she takes the check back. And she also realizes that Amari has been forgetting these shoes that she made for her. And the shoes complement her complexion. So that's a little backstory on why Amari was asking Sandy about the shoes. Now, going back to Sandy and Matthew, this conversation is super crazy. It's super crazy because Matthew is asking about the advisor situation, and, she says, well, she met with Dr. Foreman. And Dr. Foreman, he keeps calling him a kook, because the guy has the Cornel West hairstyle, and he's a little bit off-brand when it comes to his logic. So Matthew asks her, well, what about Baptiste? And Sandy pretty much replies, no, I don't want to be with Baptiste because I didn't like the things that she said when we had the party. And Matthew pretty much tells her, like, well, there was a very flirtatious student, but nothing happened, and Baptiste is my best friend, or one of my good friends, and she can be petty, but she is brilliant. So then Sandy is like, I'm going to meet up with her. And they kind of share and a smile and all that kind of stuff. So when Sandy goes to meet with Baptiste, who, like I said in the previous review, Baptiste is for me, I like it. I like it a lot because she pushes people's logic to explain why they feel the way they do. And her way of thinking is, for me, the way a man would honestly think about a situation. And not only is she thinking in a way of how an average man would think about a situation, she's putting her own spin to it. So to better clarify, I like Baptiste because she looks at the situation with objectivity and not subjectivity. It's not a lot of emotion put into the situation, but it is a lot of intellect put into it and variables that we could honestly see. So that's the reason why I like Baptiste. So when she meets with Baptiste, Baptiste is asking her, what is your goal? Where do you want to go? You need an advisor, but what is the project that really sparks your interest? Which from this conversation, we noticed that Sandy has never really thought about what subject sparks her interest, where she's going to go with her psychology degree and all that kind of stuff, being a grad student. Now, with that said, she refers back to the things that Matthew is in. Matthew is in a logic of mass incarceration on black men and the generational effects of it. But for her, she really likes the subject of why mass incarceration and why that has turned black families into basically a mother matriarch system or a matriarch system. And Baptiste pretty much praises her and was like, you're finally getting your voice. You have to put yourself in that because Matthew is already established. You're not. And people are going to base your work on the very first project you put out. So you have to make sure that you're not trying to go behind Matthew and follow his footsteps, but you blaze your own. So that way that your projects stand on their own basis and you don't need Matthew to basically back them. So Sandy starts to really understand where Baptiste is coming with things. Like, okay, I really haven't been thinking about where I want to go with my degree and my dissertations and stuff like that. And maybe I am kind of following the things that Matthew has projected. So Baptiste tells her the things that she needs to do. She needs to write her dissertation in 3 days. It's 15 pages. I don't know how that's possible because I have never been able to write one in that amount of time. I remember when I got my first dissertation and it took almost the whole semester for me to write it. And the professor gave it to us at the beginning of the semester and was due at the end of the semester. Dissertations usually take almost either a semester at bare minimum, but sometimes they could take as long as 2 to 3 years because there's a lot of information that you're unpacking. So I don't know how she's going to get this 15 pages done in 3 days, but I'll be amazed to see what that product is because Baptiste has said that she writes immaculately and she has some clear thoughts on the subject that she's writing on. So I hope that this project that she is on now comes out the same way as her previous ones. So with that said, my feelings on just the whole scenes of Sandy and Baptiste and Matthew and Amari are basically the same. I feel like with Baptiste around, Sandy can grow, but I'm still not too clear on the relationship between Sandy and Matthew. I feel like it's showing a lot of fractures that a lot of people are not seeing. They're seeing maybe this can work out, and maybe Baptiste was throwing a lot of shade. No, I'm seeing fractures. I'm seeing a lot of fractures. But I'm gonna come back to Sandy and Sandy and Matthew later. Going into Ella. And Ella was invited to a party or a little music listening session with her friend Amon. And Renee wants to go in the beginning, because she says that she wanted to meet up with Donald Glover because, he missed the opportunity to be with her early when he spent his time in New York. But Ella's like, nah, I need to get this because she is the only low tire entertainment magazine or communication or media that has been invited. Everyone else is top tier. So she meets up with Amani. She likes the music. They start to talking. And she also meets this guy named Emmett Wolf. And he is supposedly an actor. And Emmett is telling everyone how his wife is pregnant. And everything like that. He goes off and disappears for a bit. You see Amon and Ella having their conversation. They talk a little bit about Barb. They talk a little bit about people they've dated. And they're having fun with the band. And it's not, it's after the listening session. And they're just having fun. So Ella says she has to go to the bathroom. She goes to the bathroom. And you hear a lot of moaning. And the bathroom door is locked. She waits there. Goes to check her phone and all that kind of stuff. And comes out a really nice looking chick, okay? Excuse me. A really beautiful one. But Emmett soon follows. And he just looks her over like, I know you're not going to say anything. It is what it is. And Ella goes to the bathroom. And then the next time we kind of see Ella, we see her back at her place where she's talking to Barb. She's talking to Barb and she's saying, his wife is pregnant and I don't understand just because you're famous that you can do what you want to do and stuff like that. And Barb was like, F that guy. And Ella is like, we have to report on this, right? Or, she's trying to debate whether she should report on it because it's her job or, basically protect what she has with Amon. And Barb is like, no, you have to report it. You have to report it. We need the views on our social media. And this will be breaking news. We're the only ones who have this. And you could even put it under my name. And then Ella's like, no, because she'll know that even it was me because there was limited people there. Which she hangs up from that and she asks Anderson which title should she go for. And Anderson pretty much gives her both are pretty decent, but it really doesn't matter, So that brings into another scene of later on where they're making love. They're making love. And it seems like my boy Anderson is really trying to get into it. He's really into this moment. And here comes Ella with, oh my God, misery. Just plain misery. She wants to know why Anderson was so nonchalant about her job, about the things that she's trying to do. And Anderson is like, it really doesn't matter because all that matters is you and me. I'm not trying to let that get in the way of you and me. And Ella can't let it go. She's just like, yo, we have to really discuss this. So they get in a further little bit discussion, and Anderson just pretty much tells her that her job is trash. Well, he didn't use that word. He just said it was whack. And that she shouldn't be trying to out a guy about his situation because he deserves the privacy pretty much. Now, I'm conflicted, but even Ella's conflicted because she kicks Homie out the bed. So Homie doesn't even get the chance to nut, which was really, I felt for you, brother. I felt for you in all kind of ways. I know had it been me, my feelings would have been hurt. I probably would have never called her back. I probably would have never tried to see her again. Not only are you taking away the place where I'm trying to get to, but then you're kicking me out because I am being nonchalant about the situation. It was such heartbreaking. But I'm conflicted because I actually honestly agree with Ella. This is her job. She is no longer the book writer. I mean, she at one point was, but right now, her job is to break news about what celebrities do. You know, their tidbits, the flaws that they have. That's her job. And she has to report it. And I hate to say it, but once you become a celebrity or once you get a little bit of status, your life no longer becomes private. We all suffer from it. I work in a political space and also at times work in a corporate space where sometimes my name is put out there. And I also have to realize that at times my life is not private. And I try to protect it as much as possible. And I have to let people that I'm with know that, hey, there's going to be times that my life is not extremely private. And when you become a celebrity, it's even worse. It's even worse to the degree that you're trying to always protect your life in the private side. You see a lot with Queen Latifah, for instance. Uh, I didn't really care about her sexuality, but apparently people did care. And people for a long time tried to figure out, was it true? Was she really a lesbian or is she really straight? None of that really matters. But because Queen Latifah protected herself so well, you know, 20, 30 years go by and now everyone knows because she put it out in the time that she was wanting to put it out in. You know, but other celebrities are not that lucky. Some celebrities get put out way quicker. Or they try to beat the magazines and mass media out to the punch. You know, I don't want, everyone finding out about my relationship by mass media. But I was really conflicted and I felt for Ella because Anderson should have understood that is her job. And yet everyone complains about their jobs or their careers and stuff like that, but that's only in the space like they want you to listen. You know, they want you to listen. They want you to basically understand that they're frustrated. We all get frustrated in life. But he should have understood that that's her job. And I'm still confused on why Anderson, all of a sudden, 2 years later, is back. What makes you want to stay here? Okay, you said that she offered nothing for him to come back to, yet you're still here and you've never answered what made you truly come back. So Anderson needs to answer that. And I know that I've gotten into a conflict with someone about the whole Ella and Anderson tidbit, but I feel like she should just do her. She's a single woman. She's not with Anderson. She's a single woman. Do you find your way in your career and then get into a relationship? Men do it all the time. Men find their careers, they find their social status, they find their physical status, and then they get in a relationship. And those kind of relationships help the balance because when a man or a woman is settled with themselves, meaning financially, physically, socially, emotionally, when they're settled with themselves, they can provide a better experience and be a better partner. So like I said, I felt for Anderson because as a guy, I don't want to experience that. I don't want to experience being in the moment and then be taken out the moment. But Ella deserves the win for that. And I'm proud of her for standing up for herself, for saying, you know what, I care about you, but you have always showed me that you don't give an F about me. Okay? I'm always proud when a black woman does that. Let us know when we're messing up. Especially me. I love when a black woman lets me know that I have truly effed up. Because I need to know it. I'm not a mind reader. But she needed to let Anderson know. And I really want Ella to let Anderson know, like, what really brought you back here? Because you went a whole summer and you said you were supposed to be back and then you stayed a whole nother 21 months later And now all of a sudden you want to reconcile. There's something wrong with that picture. Now, Ella, the next time we see her, she's out with Renee drinking, and she says, you know, the story that she did on Emmett Wolf has gotten like high praises. People are coming for that story. And the only time it got high praises like that is when they talked about Harry and Meghan, you know, disbarring themselves or disconnecting themselves from the Queen. And Renee is there cheering her on. Renee is like, yeah, I'm so happy for you. And I have gotten a new contract. So moving to Renee. And then I'm going to come back to this situation. Renee has been trying to get a VP situation for her job, for her career in marketing, because her and Jason are not together. She still has to pay for that condo, and all the savings that she had are pretty much gone because Jason spent it. So she is vying for this VP, and she has the white lady who works with her, who seems to be her boss or her superior, who is really down for Renee. And she's like, yeah, I'm pushing for you, and I want you to be just as successful as me, because women rock and all that kind of stuff. So with that said, Renee meets up with her friend Mia while she's out with her boss or superior, and they're out drinking. She meets up with her friend Mia, who went to Spelman with her, and they kind of, for me, it sounded like they kind of AKA skeets a little bit. I don't know if they were AKAs or whatever, but it kind of sounded like that squeak that the AKAs do. But they do a little like screech, and it was kind of annoying. And the boss kind of leaves, and she's like, I gotta go check up on my kid, all that kind of stuff. So they get to talking, Renee and Mia get to talking about makeup and what Maya is doing right now, or Mia is doing right now. And Mia's like, yeah, that lip gloss that you just brought up, that was my repackaging. And so we find out that Mia is working for L'Oreal. And we find out that L'Oreal has a lot of black brands under their tire, which is not unusual, because a lot of companies that you would not know have a lot of black brands under their tires. Okay, Unilever is another one who has a lot of black brands under their tire. So Renee asks Mia, can you hook me up? Like, I want to pitch for you guys the next marketing. And Mia's like, yeah, sure, anything for, a fellow sister who I went to school with, So going back to the meeting going back to the drinking experience with Ella and Renee. So Ella talked about how the page has blown up because of her revelation about Emmett Wolf, and Renee is talking about how her bosses want her to do the pitch and everything with L'Oreal. So they're both celebrating. Coming out of that celebration, Amani is there, or Aman is there. Aman is there, and she bumps into Ella and basically tells Ella, like, yo, you did me dirty. There were only 8 people in there. I know it was you. And from now on, I will continuously do you dirty, because Emmett dropped me. Because I'm no longer trustworthy, and that means the people around me are no longer trustworthy. I felt for Aman, because at least Ella could have hit Aman up and like, yo, I'm going to have to put this story out. I'm giving you the forewarn. So that way it would have never came out as like a total shock. And I feel like Ella never went to Aman and told her straight up, like, this is the situation. Like, I seen Emmett do this, and he's married, and I'm going to have to put it out. Because in technicality, Hot Tea Digest is a gossip. It's a gossip site. It's a gossip mass media. So I feel like she should have just told Amon, but because she probably didn't tell Amon, and it came off as a total shock, and probably Emmett is probably going through some things at home with his pregnant wife, he just dumped Amon. So she now has to look for another client, and it's going to be scary because when stuff like that happens to you, you have clients. Usually, when you're trying to pick up new clients, they don't want to mess with you because they know that you're going to have people around them who are kind of shady. Most people want to have, when I was talking about earlier about celebrities, most people want to have good press. Even politicians. I'm around a lot of politicians, and like I said, even some of us want to have good press. So we try to not be around people who are always going to give us bad press. This is kind of the same reason why you always see like Donald Trump always putting like Fox News, OEON, and stuff like that. Like those broadcasters near him because you want good press. Good press is always a good thing. Bad press is really bad. And especially bad press is like it takes so much work. For every one person who dislikes you, that's basically turns into anywhere to be about 5 to 8 dislikes. And to make that up, for one person disliking you, takes almost 10 people liking you to make that up. So yeah, Amon is gonna have a hard time. And Renee basically looks at the situation like, yo, I like that fierceness that Amon had. And basically told Ella, like, yo, you kind of deserve it. Even though it's your job, you have to take the repercussions of your job at times. So, moving on from them, we see Renee go into her meeting, and she's thinking like, yo, I'm going to have this pitch, and no one can stop me. I'm getting that VP, all that kind of stuff. And to a little surprise, the heads of the marketing division that she works for are white guys, and they decide to give it to a white guy, which outrates Renee, and she basically quits. She quits because she brought L'Oreal to them. She has done all the work, and yet you're giving it to a white guy to finish it off. And they say it's basically because the account was too big. But in technicality, for me, how I understood it is you just didn't give it to her because you felt like you didn't want a black person having it. Because looking at the table, there's about 3 women, including Renee, sitting at that table, and 2 black people, one being Renee and one being Black Keith. So other than that, there's not a lot of diversity at that table. There's not a lot of inclusion at that table. And there's not a lot of equity at that table. So all those things going on at that table, and it just made them look bad. And personally, I probably wouldn't work for a company like that because, like I said, there's not a lot of diversity, not a lot of inclusion, and not a lot of equity. And you need a lot of those things to make a better balanced company. And more companies are trying to bring those things to the table. She quits, and her white female superior also quits behind her. And they just basically say, keep your head up, Black Keith, and stuff like that. And they leave. And then the next thing we see after them leaving is we see Whitney and Ola, which is Whitney and Ola at the therapist. And I can't stand this whole Whitney and Ola thing, really honestly. I feel like Ola is too extra. Now, with that said, the therapist is telling them that too much space makes the heart wander. Too little space makes the heart fonder. And it's kind of like, well, the things that Ola is telling the therapist that he disagrees with is that his ER hours are long, and Whitney's hours are also long, and Whitney is distant, and there's not a lot of self reflection. I'm just gonna put it that way. It's not a lot of self reflection by Ola, and I mentioned before that Ola should already know that there's some distance between him and Whitney. I don't agree that Whitney should tell Ola, but I'll mention that later. What I will say is that Ola didn't have any self reflection at this therapist meeting, and Renee is telling him everything that she needs. She needs her wedding to be her wedding. She needs for him to understand that her career is important, and it's important not to just her, but it should also be important to him, just like his career is important to him, but it's also important to her. And some reason Ola is blind to that, and I'm not giving him a pass. Even if he is like, I can't give him a pass as a guy. Like, because that to me is just too much. You should know that in commitment wise, that, things that are important to your woman should also be important to you. And she's telling you, and you're just saying, it's you, 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 you. You notice at the distance, all that kind of stuff. And then when she tells him all this stuff, she basically is like, okay, yeah, I just want to know so I can be in it with you. Now, going back all these episodes so far, which it hasn't been many, how many times has Ola actually been present for the wedding decisions? Now, I seen like there was a few times where Whitney was supposed to meet certain people in his family, but for the wedding decisions, Ola hasn't been really present. And he's demanded so many times that Whitney just stop everything she's doing and rush over to be where he is, whether it be with his family or at home or whatever else. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem like it's a whole transparent situation that he has totally told her, like, this is what he demands out of a relationship. It seems like it's so one-sided for me. When they leave out this therapy session, you see Whitney basically go to Sandy's apartment. We find out that Sandy has kept her apartment and everything like that, which is weird because in the middle of everything, the next time we have seen Sandy in the episode is when she's with Amari and they're at home and she's trying to write the dissertation, and Amari is just making a ton of noise, and Matthew is nowhere to be found. Matthew apparently was out reading a book, eating a scone, which Sandy didn't find too delightful. She basically was like, you're eating a donut and I'm watching your child. Now, mind you, with Sandy saying that, Sandy has now mentioned for me that I can remember 2 times that she has watched Matthew's child. Now, I don't know if she's done that because Matthew mentioned on episode 1 how Amari is his child, or she's just doing it because now she has come disillusioned with the whole relationship to the point where it's kind of like, well, this is not really my life. And this is not the life that I'm really signed up for. Because it seems like half the time she's in it, and then the other half that she's not in it. That she just is disillusioned with the whole situation. Which I can understand. Because slowly, as the more she talks to Baptiste and the more she talks to her girlfriends, and she starts to reflect, she's starting to see that she has kind of changed for Matthew. And not him just aligning with her. She's changed in order. I'm starting to believe that she's really starting to believe that she has been in a situation where she's trying to F up. So with that said, we see that she's kept her apartment. We seen that she has mentioned that, Amari not being her child. She has And she's happy about it. She's happy about it because when Whitney comes in, she's like, yeah, I'm happy about keeping my apartment. This is basically, you know, where I can be free. She does mention that she has to go back home, per se, and I'm putting that in quotes, because I feel like she feels that she is entangled or tied to Matthew because she has put herself in the life of Amari. And I do think that she cares deeply about Amari. And I think if Amari would have never been in the situation of their relationship, I probably think that she would have left Matthew, especially over the revelation that there could be a possibility that Matthew dated another student, and the way Matthew has purely like kind of treated her on the sidelines of like, I know more than you, and you're just a student and stuff like that. Even though he has boosted her up, he has been motivating and like she's smart, she's intelligent, but at the same time, he's also been condescending towards her. So she says that she has to go home and stuff like that, and Whitney is just there. And Whitney is like, hey, I slept with the community ping or Chris, and Sandy's like, oh no, no, I didn't know, and all that kind of stuff, because Sandy was the only one that didn't know. And she's basically like, you gotta work it out. You gotta work it out because for Whitney, Sandy is the only one who has a stable relationship or an adult relationship. So after that, the final scene that we come upon is Ola and Whitney. And Ola appears to have knocked on Sandy's door. So we're left off at that, and I guess the final season finale will be either Whitney admitting to that situation with Chris or not. Now, I want to discuss something off to the side. I personally do not think that Whitney should tell Ola about her and Chris. I do not think that she should tell him because I know she feels guilty. But I don't think that guilt is because she slept with Chris. I think that guilt comes from that there are deeper problems with her and Ola's relationship, and she has come to the realization that Ola might not be her end all be all. He might not be her forever. And I feel like she has tried to tell her girlfriends in a way that she feels that he is not the end all be all. And they have tried to wait and sit back and let her decide if that is really true. They haven't tried to sway her one way or the other. They haven't really been like, no, you need to stay with him and all this kind of stuff. Or been like, yeah, girl, you need to leave. They haven't really done either one of those. They've just been on the fence. They're waiting for whatever you decide, we're behind you. And I like that. I like that they're being supportive of her regardless of whatever the decision is. And that's the reason why they can't really weigh in on whether she should tell him or not. Even though they've said, certain people have said, don't tell him, others have said, to tell him. I personally would say, don't tell him. Because it was one time. Now, if it was multiple times, then yeah, you need to tell him. But for one time, then you just came out of your comfort level. You came out of the things that have seemed to have dragged you down. You shouldn't tell him. You really should discuss the things that are important to your relationship. I've always felt that with Whitney and Ola, it's such a sticky relationship because Ola really misses out on a lot. Like, he mentioned that he noticed that she was distant. Whitney has been distant since episode 1. Episode 1, she has realized, like, yo, I've been with this guy and I haven't had my coming of age moments. And I had a discussion with someone and they were like, well, she really doesn't need them. Yes, she does. I'm one of those people, like, yo, there's things that I haven't done or things that I've done and I've waited longer than everyone else. And then I've sat back and like, yo, I should have done this so much earlier, because now I feel like I need to experience more. And I feel that that's where Whitney is. She needs to experience more. She's been tied down to this one guy who totally has basically bankrupt her. He's bankrupt her because you're now asking her to give up so much and sacrifice so much while you prosper on your end. You're not saying, well, I'm not going to work in the ER anymore. I'm going to start my own practice. You're not saying that. You're basically saying, yo, I wish that you could just, work less. So is working less just not working at that establishment that she works at now? Is it being just a stay-home mother? Like, I'm not understanding where that is coming from. Like, I feel like it goes deeper on Ola's side, that he wants her to be a certain type of woman, and she's not wanting to be that woman. She's worked hard for that MBA. She's worked hard for the stature that she has at the company that she's at. At the same time, it just seems like she's trying to also please everyone around her and also please him to a degree that is really not possible. And he has yet to step up to say, what can I do? Whitney made a revelation that, Ola talks in John Legend lyrics. And I realized when she said that, and I'm going to put myself out there and put other men out there, that when a man usually talks in lyrics like that, it's usually because they don't know how they truly feel. Like, if a man loves you, he should be able to define it in some kind of fashion. Like, even if it means that he has to correlate it with something that he truly loves, whether it be basketball, whether it be NASCAR, whether it be football, whether it be music, he should be able to interpret it in some kind of fashion. The fact that he has to use music lyrics to say, hey, this is the way I feel. It's kind of like that same process when you have a guy who plays a song and he's like, yeah, that's the way I feel. Or a girl who plays a song and is like, yeah, that's the way I always feel this way. There are multiple songs for the way I feel when I'm in a relationship. No, there's never going to be one song that totally embodies the way I feel. So I have to put it out the way I feel verbally, because I don't want someone I'm with to feel as though like my feelings are not true. And I feel like for Ola, because he puts it out as a John Legend lyric, she feels like his feelings are not true. And I don't know. I just feel when it comes to Ola Whitney, she shouldn't tell him. She really should honestly just cancel the wedding. And she should put herself out there to be like, you know what? We need to have space. We need to have time. And Ola should respect that. Because if he really cares about her in the fashion that he cares, then guess what? You'll give her the space and the time to explore whatever she needs to explore. And if she comes back, cool. If she doesn't come back, support her and be like, you know what? We had all these great years. We have all these great memories. And I just want you to be happy. That's the best thing that you can ever do for someone that you care about. To just be supportive of them, even if they don't end up with you. So with that said, I am running a little bit long for a 30-minute episode. And I don't know. I just feel like this was a nice experience. And the person who requested this review of mine, this will probably be the last review I do. But thank you. And this has been Analytical Perspective, and I am Farrah Moses.